one. All right.
Are we ready?
Let's do it. Go ahead, ladies. Why don't you guys kick us off?
All right.
Go, partner.
Go, partner. Well, welcome to Ready, Set, Not Yet. I'm Michelle Barton. I'm one of the creators, as most of you know, down the middle. And I'm here with my creative everything on this project, Heather Dowling. Heather, would you like to say anything?
Well, I was going to let you brag a little bit about yourself first.
You're going to brag about myself?
That how long you've been in LA as an actor and some of the projects you're excited about, just quickly.
Sure. I've been in LA since about 2008, and I'm still really excited about Down the Middle. It's one of we got it in the can before quarantine started. Hallelujah. And I've also been working on a project called Artists for the Amazon, and we're working with influencers to create a new narrative for mainstream populace to relate to the Amazon with ownership. Of course, right now we've switched that focus to supporting the Indigenous with COVID support down there. And I have one other project we're getting ready to release called Destiny Now, through a project called OK Trauma, that's inspiring people to look at trauma healing as important as the climate, essentially.
So she's awesome.
Go for it, Heather.
She does many, many good things. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Heather Dowling, and I have been in LA trying to do this acting thing for about coming up on 9 years now, which is unbelievable because it feels like it was just an idea that I had one day. Since then, I have done 2 award-winning solo shows, Unemployed, Finally, and Fertile, that have had really nice runs. My first show, Unemployed, made it all the way to New York on 42nd Street, which was like it was like 5-year-old Heather would have died if she would have ever thought she could be on 42nd Street. And then the biggest accomplishment, without a doubt, is what Michelle and I did when we sat down in 2016 and started talking about how funny our dynamic was. And gosh, you could base a show on how weird we are together and how different we are. And it inspired us at the idea of opposites and how beautiful things happen when people are willing to reach across and reconcile and understand. And here we go. So then we started out as a small project. We hooked up with a production company, and that's when we started to understand we needed money. And I was having dinner with a good friend of mine saying, I don't know how to do crowdfunding. We have to figure it out. And she said, hey, do you know Leah?
This was Cyan, yeah?
Yeah, Cyan McLaren. And she said, do you know Leah? And I said, I don't know Leah. So with that, I will hand it off to Leah.
And so that seems to be how everyone finds me. Do you know Leah? So hi everyone, I'm Leah Savoli. I've been in LA, it'll be 21 years this August. Right out of elementary school, I dropped out of grad school and I went on tour with a bunch of rock bands, and then I ended up in Hollywood, and here I am 21 years later. And I'm also an actress and a producer. And what happened for me about 6-7 years ago is, Kickstarter started to become a thing, and people started to do things. And I was involved. My first project, it was a web series where I was the lead actress on. It was a small goal, about $5,000. And I saw the magic happen in the last couple days. I got more involved with the project and shared some sort of vulnerable personal stories connecting to the topic. At that time, it was a web series on bullying. And when I shared that personal connection on my social media, lightning struck. And within days, we ended up not just succeeding our goal, but we ended up with about $8,000, which was huge for a little $5,000 web series. And on that list of thank you credits, I saw, people I'd gone to Girl Scouts with, people I had gone to kindergarten with, people I was in a sorority with. And that's kind of when the seed kind of got planted of, people respond to your truth, people respond to vulnerability, people respond to you really connecting. And they want to help. Most people want to help, you know, and not everyone can help in financial ways, but people want to help. And the thing with crowdfunding is there's many ways to help outside of just giving money. So about 6 years ago, this turned more into a side professional gig, and it kind of sort of became my waitress gig is what I was calling it. And everybody and their brother started going, hey, Leah, can you help us with this? Hey, we heard you know how to do this. And so that led over the course of a couple years. I actually took a mastermind entrepreneur class with Bonnie Gillespie. A lot of you probably know who Bonnie is. And so she does these side set mastermind groups. And I use that to kind of help me build my systems and my levels of support for people, because obviously I couldn't jump into the trenches with everyone. So that's where I kind of started to discover that I could do these one-on-one consults. And then depending on the connection with the team and the goals and the project and whether I think I was going to like enjoy spending 6 weeks of my life with these people, what other sorts of levels I could offer. So when Heather and Michelle came to me in what year, guys?
I don't even know anymore.
Late 2018.
Late 2018. So I believe it was like December of 2018, right before the holiday breaks, I think it was. We had our first coffee chat, is what I call the first step. A one-on-one session where we sit down together for an hour and I just kind of verbally vomit all of the things necessary. And 99.9% of the people walk away from that meeting going, wow, we're overwhelmed. We had no idea how much work it took to make this happen. Those are the people I want to work with. That other percentage of people that walks away going, oh yeah, no problem. No, right? So it's based in reality. Although it might seem like magic at times, it's definitely based on reality. So before we kind of jump into the nuts and bolts, just by a show of hands, I just wanted to kind of see how many people have created their own crowdfunding campaign before. Anyone? Nobody. Yes. Okay. We got one. We got two. Okay. Michelle, you're raising
maybe the
your
one's
hand?
hiding, but right now we know two.
Video, you can always message us.
It feels daunting. Yes, it is daunting, Sadia. So I see at least two hands who
it's good to acknowledge that first.
Crowdfunded before. How many of you that crowdfunded were completely successful? Okay, so then we see, right? Well, here's the deal, guys. 50% of all crowdfunding campaigns fail. That's just the statistics across the board, whether you're on Kickstarter, Indiegogo, etc. I see I'm in the middle of my first one. Now, who is that?
That's Alyssa.
Alyssa, okay, because it's not, your name's not coming up. It says iPhone. Okay, so Alyssa is about to start. Great, so we're glad you're here. And Therese says you raised about half of what you were looking for, which is great, you guys. 50% of all campaigns actually fail. Now, raise your hand if you've donated to a crowdfunding campaign before. Okay, that's pretty much everybody. Yeah. So for those of you who haven't yet, I would suggest that that's something you put on your list this weekend. Go find a campaign that you like, whether it's someone in your network, a friend of yours or whatnot, and pledge. This is going to give you such perspective from the other side of the window of the different things that come in from that campaign and how it's working, what jives with you, what doesn't, so that when you're building your own, you can remember. And it also helps you to be able to explain the steps. And I'm sure Heather and Michelle can totally relate to that, because for crowdfunding, people may never have done this before. So you want to be able to be a source of information, even today, right? Up until the last minute, I'm getting emails going, hey, where's the Zoom link? How do I find it? So if you've never pledged to a crowdfunding campaign, you need to be in a better position to explain to your community what it looks like and what buttons they're going to hit. And we'll talk about that as we go too. But I just kind of wanted to get an idea of like where everybody is. So it looks like we're all in that exploratory phase, pretty much, with a little bit of experience here and there. Now, Heather and Michelle, you guys neither of you had crowdfunded, right?
Correct.
No, and we, you know, when I sat down with Leah, for me, I said this in my live video yesterday, like I'm not I'm not a big time social media expert. I'm not like a rock star, but I also am pretty comfortable. I have a pretty good following on Facebook. I'm happy on Twitter. I'm decent with Instagram. And I came to Leah and I was like, what? I posted on my social media, right? I mean, how hard can that be? That seems like what everybody else does, right? And sitting down with her.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that I do ask about in that first initial consult. And the thing about Heather and Michelle, it was Heather felt very comfortable and confident in her social media, and Michelle was like, "What? Oh, look at that bird! Look at that butterfly!"
This is true.
Is Twitter what the sound the bird makes?
That bad.
I'm kidding. But it was.
But yeah, we were definitely in different world.
Yes, but I could see that together. Because here's the thing, you guys. It's very realistic. You have to be very realistic about what you can and can't do. I'm just going to throw out a number there, but what I've noticed is basically for every $10,000 you're looking to raise, that's going to take about 100 backers, give or take. I usually kind of put it up to 150 just to kind of give you. So let's say you're looking to raise 20,000, you're probably going to need about 250-ish backers. Now that can vary widely with campaigns, because if you get a big chunk, a couple big pledges, that's going to skew the number lower. But on average, it's about 100 backers per $10,000. So look at your network, your following, and if that number scares you, then right away that goal is probably too high for you. But we're going to get into that. We're going to dive more into that. Michelle, you had something you wanted to say. I see it.
Well, we'll get into it because it's too high. Yeah, it'll come on later.
We're jumping ahead. All three of us are just dying to talk about realistic goals, but we're gonna follow this nifty outline. That Heather insisted we make. See, here's the thing about working with Down the Middle, you guys. Heather's over here and Michelle's over here, and I'm kind of right here, and I bounce back and forth, so it works really well. If you know the characters on Down the Middle, it's true.
You notice I stopped myself in that moment from jumping ahead. I was like, "Ooh, that's
no." We're going to talk about choosing your platform, but I want to offer one thing to Satya really quick, where you said super helpful with the realistic goals because I have large dreams. Here's the thing that's really empowering about understanding the numbers, because once you understand the numbers, you can have as large of a dream as you want, and then you just have to figure out how to get your audience and your community to the size it's got to be to have those dreams come true. Yeah. So it shouldn't discourage you if you feel like it's small right now, smaller than the big goal that you have. So what? That just tells you where there is to go to work.
Yeah.
Because once you kind of have your hands on the dials of that, you start to know what it would take to create those big things. So, and here we go.
Yep. And to that point, and then I'm going to jump into the outline where we're supposed to be going, but to that exact point, I had a team come to me about 4 or 5 years ago. I had worked with the director prior, and so he brought the producers to our first meeting. This was a very important film for them to make. It was a documentary on someone they had loved and lost, someone who was a B film star back in the 60s and 70s, and she had quite an underground following. But the producers, who were her real life friends and family, were the older generation. They didn't really have a hands-on grasp of the social media, but this was a really important project for them. So after our first meeting, they took everything I said to heart about the numbers and the social media and the goals. They came back to me 4 years later with 10,000 Twitter followers and 50,000 Facebook likes. They raised 50,000 on Kickstarter, and they're now in post-production on their documentary.
Wow.
That's sometimes what it takes to step back and go, I'm not quite ready for this big goal, but I'm going to do all the steps and get ready and circle back. Yeah. And I respect that so much when a team is like, oh, maybe we're not quite ready yet. So in that idea, you're probably thinking, okay, well, how do I know, right? How do I know what platforms to look at? So we're going to touch on that really quickly. One thing I want to assert is that your backers are not investors. They're not investing in the film. They're not getting back-end points. They may have a perk that says co-producer, executive producer, producer. This is a name only, name and credit only. You know, their name is going to be listed in the film. Their name will be listed on IMDb. You may even list their name in your marketing materials, but they do not own a piece of your project. Now, why is that important to note? Well, one, they don't own your project, but two, there are people out there, and I've seen it multiple times, who really are out there just to get those credits, to build up their IMDb page, to show that they were an associate producer on all of these projects. They might have never even stepped foot on a set before, but they gave to a bunch of crowdfunding campaigns that they believed in. Maybe something, you know, somebody with a name was on that project, and now they can say, hey, I was a producer on that project. That, I don't know why Bob Saget's name just came to mind, but his name just popped into my head. So they are name and credit only. Also, to that point in your wording, is there a way to share that it is in contract with share? Well, it's kind of a well-known thing, Satya. They don't get a contract. They're just pledging on the crowdfunding campaign. And so the crowdfunding websites themselves will spell all of that out. There is no contract taking place other than they've made a pledge to your project, and your perk will list out exactly what they get. Now, they could message you and ask some questions, and this could happen where they say, well, I actually want to be a, you know, quote unquote, real associate producer. I would like, and then that's a talk for you to have off of the website, with a contract involved, with your legal team involved. And that's something for you to decide, that if they do want to explore those aspects, they can, but that would be completely off of the crowdfunding campaign itself.
Which actually we
yes.
had happen.
Which we'll talk about soon. Right?
In
4C?
section 4C.
Or do you want to jump ahead that far?
Or you could jump
Go,
in with
Michelle.
that right now. Michelle, go for it. We're going off the outline. Go.
She's a dear friend of Heather's, who now I got the opportunity to know and absolutely adore. Jen Clymer jumped in at the producer level, but then had conversations with our team to actually be a producer working with us to bring this to fruition. And it has been such a huge gift, and one of the miracles that came out of our crowdfunding project. Sorry, my phone just started ringing on my computer, and I didn't put it on don't disturb. So that was just, and that worked out. I mean, she runs the television studio at MPTF, and we ended up getting to shoot there for, was it 3 days, Heather?
Yeah, it was 3.
I mean, it was a complete miracle what happened with Jen, and it's because she loves Heather so much and wanted to see all of this succeed, and knew that she could be a force for that to happen.
Yeah.
But I also
and we didn't see that coming at all. I mean,
it's not just because she loved Heather. I mean, I'm sure that's a big part of it, but it's also because she saw the hard work that was going in daily. This is a 30-day commitment. And when I say 30, I really mean like 90.
Yeah, it's a lot more than 30.
The campaign is running for 30 days, but there's prep work leading up to it. I would say a minimum of 2 months prep ahead of time. And that's for teams that are pretty much ready to go, that have their social together. And we'll talk about that in a second, about putting the team together. But I mentioned another team took 4 years to come back to me. So yes, you can turn people into not just producers, but producers that are going to help even further, like Michelle and Heather did with Jen. And yes, it's possibly because of your relationship with them, but it's also because they watch the hard work that you're putting in, and the content that you're putting out, and the dedication and commitment that you have to this project, and that you're showing them that their investment is not going to go to waste, that you're going to do everything in your power to make it hit the screen.
Yeah, the
That's
quality of the crowdfunding itself is, you really want to pay attention to that quality, to your pitch videos, and we'll get into all of that. But I think that really supported us in being able to cross the line. People were giving us so much compliments with the quality of what we were creating for the campaign.
And we're going to get into that when we hit pre-production. Real quick, we're not going to use words like donations because it's not a donation. When you're talking on social media, when you're using your emails, it's pledges, it's contributions, give today. But we don't want to use the word donation because it's not a write-off. Along those same lines, talk to your tax professionals because your crowdfunding campaign is considered income. I first discovered this with a client of mine back in, I want to say 2013, 2014. He had crowdfunded over $60,000 for his album at the end of the year. It was like a November campaign. Neither one of us really realizing that this was any sort of big deal at all until he talked to his tax professional. And in his case, his tax professional advised him to quickly start spending and expensing that money ahead of time, like kind of pre-expensing and getting receipts so that it wasn't that he just had this big chunk of money come in at the end of the year without any expenses. So I think best case scenario is that it's going into a business account, but neither of us, out of the three of us, we're not tax professionals and we're not legal advice. So please make sure you do chat with your people before you launch a campaign to bring in thousands and thousands of dollars that the government is going to say was your income that year. So that's
right.
just a quick note on that. And the other quick note I just wanted to mention is that we, for all intents and purposes today, we are talking about reward-based crowdfunding, which is the Kickstarters, the Indiegogos, the Seed and Sparks of the world, where you give money and you get a perk. There is another type of crowdfunding out there called equity crowdfunding, and that's where you're actually giving to own a piece of the company or product or film that's out there. We're not covering anything about that. This is traditional rewards-based perk crowdfunding. So that's where we are.
I want to say one
Yes.
thing before we move on with the tax professional. The one thing that Heather and I can deal with, if you are working with a team and working half and half, and then some money's going to that other production team, and you really do want to talk to your tax professional about how it works to split up W-9s and 1099s and, like, you know, all the things, because we ended up having to figure that out really fast, and it was kind of a mess.
Yeah, and it's important for that anyway, because where the money's going to funnel through, who has a business that can handle it and write off against it, especially if you're not going to start production immediately and won't have any write-offs. Like, we had no idea when we were going to start using the money. And then also in your own partnerships too, like if you have, for example, it might not seem relevant for stage, but like Kevin, if you had a producer and they were on board with you to help you raise that money, like who's going to take account for that and how it's going to flow. And I think an accountant's got to help you set that up properly. I wish we had done that. We worked it out, but it was a lesson.
Yep.
It always goes, the time always goes quicker than you think. You know, all of a sudden we have our first meeting and next thing we know, it's like launch day and we're like, oh my gosh, are we ready? Did we really do everything on the checklist? Just to touch on platforms real quick, I have personally worked on Seed and Spark, Indiegogo, Kickstarter, GoFundMe, I Fund Women, Fan Backed, and probably a few CrowdRise, and probably a few others that I'm forgetting. They all have their pros and cons. They all have their niches. For all intents and purposes, the three largest are Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and Seed and Spark. I love Kickstarter. It's the biggest platform out there. It's the most popular platform out there. It's the most trafficked platform out there. It is also the most user-friendly platform out there as far as the back end and the statistics and the things that they give you. However, it is absolutely all or nothing. So if you are going to go for Kickstarter, you really need to make sure that you're going to be able to hit that goal or you're going to lose everything. And that's really not a place that you want to be in. Indiegogo, very similar to Kickstarter. I've had a dozen successful clients over there. They haven't done much in the way of improvement over the years. They really haven't added many bells or whistles or anything to make their project, their campaign more user-friendly. They have the option to not do all or nothing, but in my experience, what I found is when you lessen the urgency, there's no urgency. So if you're on a platform that has some sort of bullseye that you have to hit, your community is more likely to go, oh shit, they're $2,000 away from the bullseye. We're going to rally around them. Whereas on a platform like
Mhm.
Indiegogo, everybody goes, oh, cool. That was great. You almost hit the bullseye, you know, because there's no urgency there. Now, the platform the three of us worked on together is Seed and Spark. And I've now had 10 successful campaigns on that platform. If you're not familiar with Seed and Spark, they are, I would say they're, you know, they're giving Kickstarter a run for their money. They've been around for about 5 or 6 years. They're female owned and operated. They are very much Seed and Spark, SEED and Spark, SPARK.com. They are very user friendly. They are very hands on. They will retweet you. They will repost about you. In fact, they tweeted about our workshop today when they saw it, which excited the three of us this morning. A platform like Kickstarter or Indiegogo is probably not going to notice your tweets and probably not going to try to rally the community behind them. They are also, which particularly in the era that we're in, they are also very much focused on inclusion and diversity and telling stories from different lenses and different viewpoints. So if your story falls anywhere outside of your traditional kind of story, and by traditional, I don't even know what that means anymore, right? But Seed and Spark is very, they have open arms for everyone, and they want to shine a spotlight on your story. So highly recommend them. Another reason I pushed the gals over to them, besides the fact that they are a female driven, written, produced, and starring project, was also they have what's called the 80% all or nothing. So Seed and Spark is all or nothing. It has the urgency that Kickstarter has. However, you hit that all or nothing mark as long as you've reached 80% of your goal. So that gives you a little leeway. It gives you a 20% window that you can play with. As long as you hit here, you're getting everything, but then we're still going to try to, of course, reach that main goal. And then another aspect of Seed and Spark, and then I'm going to turn it back over to Heather and Michelle so they can tell you why they like the platform. But another feature I bring up about Seed and Spark is they have what's called the wish list. And a wish list works very much like a wedding registry, in that when you're putting your campaign page together, you're going to fill out this wish list and you're going to match it with a subset of your budget. You're going to kind of pull out some line item budgets and place them on the wish list. In that, let me give you an example. Recently, I had a team put catering on their wish list budget, and they assigned a number to it. Well, one of their friends messaged on the wish list, and she said, I would like to give something to the catering budget. Now you have the option to say yes or no. You respond. You know, it's not just somebody shows up and goes, hey, I want to be your director, and you have to say yes or something, right? So you as the team have the option to respond. So they responded and they said, okay, what would you like to do for catering? She responded, I will do a $300 Costco run for the production. So they said yes. And what they were able to do then was it ticks $300 off of the main Seed and Spark goal. So anything that comes into the wish list, either as a loan or as a pledge, many other teams have gotten locations from their wish list, right? So you've described what that location is that you're looking for. And then a friend sees it and it goes, you know what? My cousin has a backyard that looks just like that. And then now you get to knock off whatever you had allotted in your budget to that location, now gets knocked off the Seed and Spark goal, and all of that counts to the overall picture. So it's really also, I've seen it work very well for documentaries where there's lots of travel involved. You can ask for flights and hotels and travel points. All of those things can be put on the wish list. I've even seen people offer to be PAs and extras based on it was on the wish list. I'll donate a day of my time as a PA on your set. I'll donate 2 days of my time as an extra on your set. And then your team goes, well, we were gonna pay our PA $150 a day, 2 days, that's $300 we can take off of the Seed and Spark goal. Gets us closer to goal. So ladies, you guys both worked on Seed and Spark, so what did you think?
Well, I would say there's a lot to say about Seed and Spark. One thing I want to say about the 80% is that they want people to actually get their project made. And if you hit 80%, there's a good chance you can get it made with calling in favors. So it's just really grounded in sort of their business model as well. And I think that also their back end with what they're growing a distribution platform, and they're also have deals with other production support that you get percentages and support on the back end with how many followers you get. So they really are a platform that supports content creation, and they want to see you succeed.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that their community building in that is profound.
And that's the biggest thing for me is if you're someone who's going to be looking for distribution and going to be looking to connect, they are an incredible resource for that, Seed Spark. But Michelle said it perfectly. That's exactly, I mean, ditto to everything she said. And for me, with Kickstarter and with Seed Spark, we did see first up close and personal that having those all or nothing marks made a huge, it was crazy the way things would spike when we got close. And if you look at the grids, like Seed Spark on their back end has a whole illustration of the typical grid, that when people are within striking distance of that goal, it's amazing. People come and adjust their pledges up to get you closer. People come out of the woodwork and give you 5. I mean, it's like, it's amazing how much that sense of urgency motivates people to support you. And it also gave us so much more to talk about, because you're constantly trying to build on your campaign and talk about what's happening. And when you can create that urgency, it gets people, because some of you even may have with this workshop, look, how long did it take before, you know, you actually registered for it or paid for it or whatever? Because people just, they put things off and they flag it for later. And when you create
by the way, Heather wanted to put a cutoff on when people could sign up. And I was like, no, we will take signups till the end. I know in quarantine, I've been signing up for lots of things last minute.
At the last second. Exactly. So
Heather, can you also mention how the followers worked? I didn't touch on that. Would one of you guys want to touch on how Seed and Spark allows you to earn rewards
Michelle
based on followers?
She touched on it. Yeah, she touched on it a little bit. That, I mean, even right now, for those of you who haven't yet, maybe Michelle can type it in the chat. If you go to downthemiddleseries.com, you can still follow us on Seed Spark. Our project still lives there, and every update for our project still lives there. And everybody who follows us immediately gets updates that we send out emails, and when we do behind the scenes footage and all these things. So you're really able to create a platform there from followers. And, you know, if we keep building that, that's what she was talking about with the industry perks and other things you can get. And you hit a certain number of followers, they start to talk about distribution and what that could look like.
Yeah. What's it?
To your question around platform to promote your project to the previous donors.
That's what Seed and Spark does.
Well, I know there was a couple of weeks when we were doing really, really well when they put us in their highlights on their front page. And we're encouraging their general community to look at our project. So it kind of depends on the momentum that you build. You know, and how well you're doing it, because they'll back something that looks like it's going to go. You know?
Well, as far as the putting it out there, it's based on how much you're putting into the campaign, right? So we're going to jump into the algorithm section a little bit at this moment, but I'm going to save that a little bit later for Michelle as well, because I know how much she loves the algorithms. But if you are doing all of the things that you're supposed to be doing, which is putting out the updates and communicating with your backers and getting more followers every day and getting pledges every day, then the algorithms push you onto those popular pages where Seed and Spark will highlight you as a project, you know, a hot project, new to funding, you know, projects we love. And you can also end up in their newsletter. And that's not just a Seed and Spark thing. I've had clients end up in the Kickstarter newsletter. I've had clients end up in the Indiegogo newsletter. Actually, an interesting story relating to the Seed and Spark newsletter. And this just, again, goes to show kind of what we were just talking about how many times you need to see something before you take action. I had a young filmmaker on Seed and Spark a couple summers ago, raising $20,000 for a short film that was very personal to her. It was a family story that she had written 10 years prior, and she was finally ready to raise the funding and tell the story now that she was out of film school. And we'll get into this a little later, but one of the things I ask my clients to do is send 100 personal emails to start, a minimum 100 personal emails you're going to send out to let people know on day one that this is happening. And of course she had done that, and she'd been sending updates, and she'd been sending newsletters and MailChimps and the whole 9 yards. And then about 2.5, 3 weeks into her campaign, she ended up being featured in the Seed and Spark newsletter. Well, that day she got an email from a gentleman who she had interned with before, some big time producer, who, even though she had emailed him multiple times about this campaign, had not pledged until this day. She gets an email from him and he goes, wow, I just saw you in the Seed and Spark newsletter. He put $1,000 into the campaign and sent her link out to his whole contact list. Not because she had been sending him emails, but because he saw her recognized in the Seed and Spark newsletter. It showed him that, you know, she was rocking and rolling and she was really making this happening, and he took notice at that point. Yes. So
it's really awesome. And you can also on Seed and Spark, if you're following other projects on Seed and Spark, they follow you back. There's a real camaraderie.
Yep.
But I want to talk about Kickstarter just for a second, because I know I have some friends on here that would more likely be crowdfunding for a theater run and to produce theatrical productions. And I want to say, I still believe, and I know Indiegogo just introduced something where they have one that's a fixed, like all or nothing, and then they have one that's like get it as you get it. I still think you're better off to select with Kickstarter all or nothing to create the momentum in your campaign. But my advice then, and we're going to get into this, is then what's important is set the minimum goal you absolutely have to make it. Don't not the pie in the sky bells and whistles goal, but if you're going to go there, have it be what you're saying. I literally, if I don't have this, I can't do this. Right? That's when because that's going to create the urgency for you and for your community to actually have it happen. And you may go over.
Let's face it, you need $50,000 to make a project, but you just raised 15. You are going to make it happen. You're not going to let that 15 go to waste. So I always urge on the side of caution to always go lower. Raise your hands. How many would be crowdfunding a theater piece? So we have multiple. Kevin, Satya,
maybe Alyssa.
No, Teresa. Okay, so about half. So all right, so I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I've managed a couple theater pieces. They've been successful. I think theater is the hardest thing to crowdfund. And I think mainly because unless you live in the town that the piece is happening, or if it's a traveling production, it's going to be hard for you to be there. So the perks that are like, hey, tickets to the show, or tickets to our cast and crew rehearsal, or tickets to our red carpet, or tickets to our meet and greet, those are going to be hard to sell unless you live in the town. So theater seems to become, it depends on the streaming and the rules, and whether it's an equity production. Those are things that you would have to look up and talk to the theater itself and Actors Equity and things like that, because some of the clients that I've run into, if they were part of a membership, their membership didn't allow it to stream depending on the theater.
I can tell you, I can actually answer this because Kevin, you're looking at Whitefire, right? Doing a streaming from Whitefire. Yeah, that's not equity, it's solo. It's
so they would allow you to do that. So that would be a perk that you could do. Just to give you an example, one of my top theater clients is a television actor who has 700,000 Twitter followers. I will say that again, 700,000 Twitter followers. And his goal for his theater production was 30,000. Now, I will tell you, this man, older gentleman, but completely savvy on social media, and he was in there in the trenches with me, did absolutely everything I asked him to do. It still took us almost 3 weeks to hit his goal. Now, he did hit his goal, and we had a week left over where we doubled his goal. But at the end of the day, I was literally in his kitchen going, what TV show is that from? Oh, that Salt and Pepper Shaker, that was in the kitchen when I played blah, blah, blah on blah, blah, blah show. Okay, let's put it on the Kickstarter, $700. Who wants the Salt and Pepper Shaker from this television show? And it went. So just giving you an example, this is a gentleman who had that kind of following, and it still took every ounce of our energy to get him to his goal and above. And so that kind of just reiterates what we talk about when we talk about setting goals that are realistic for you and your community, and just putting it in there that theater does seem to be the hardest, the most challenging. It's not impossible, but it is the most challenging to crowdfund. Won't scare you
Well, and
guys any
let's
further.
face it, the crowdfunding world is really saturated at this
Mhm.
point, and there's so many things pulling everybody's attention.
And that's why what we're about, the pre-production that we're about to
Yep.
talk about is so critical, because what makes or breaks it is that initial impression.
Yep.
And how fast you raise your first 30%.
Yeah.
Let's-
So
I'm gonna
let's
shut up
talk.
and let Leah talk.
So let's talk about this. So we're going to cover the pre-production phase, which is basically putting it all together. How do you put your team together? How do you get your social media together? How do you get your calendar together? How do you prep these things? So I think one of the first things to do is, who is in this with you? When you look at your team, and by in this with you, I mean, who's in the trenches with you? Who's going to be sending out emails to everyone they know? Who's going to be posting on social media with you every day? Who's going to be willing to drop what they're doing to have an emergency brainstorming meeting because things have slowed down? Who's willing to put their own wallet and relationships on the line, right? And so in this case, it was Heather and Michelle. It was, all right, we are a team of 2 and we're in this together. And we want to bring you on, Leah, at the fullest of your capacities. So, okay, we are a team of 3. Now, there are other producers involved in the project, and spouses and other people that were huge helps, but it was the 3 of us that were in the trenches for the entire project. And so when asked about your team, really look at, okay, who is in the trenches with me, team? And if it's just me, I definitely probably want some help. I definitely probably need some coaching, and I should definitely look at putting that goal on the lower side of where I think I can hit it, because here's what happens. Hit it as quickly as you can. Hit it so there's still time left on the clock. And then we'll talk about this in a little bit. Then we go for the stretch goals, because it's all psychological, right? So we want people to think, wow, this is a project that's happening. And so we want people excited every step of the way. So get excited about your team and figure out who that team is.
Mm-hmm.
You guys knew from the start, it was you guys. Social media. Michelle?
Oh, I was just going to say, it was us in the trenches, and we also had our production team, Drama 3-4, had agreed to do the banners, and they wrote our pitch script and shot it with us. So we had some quality,
backup.
Yes, quality.
Right. So that's one of the things to look
and
at.
that's
like
part of your budget, because you might need to hire this team. You might need to hire somebody
so
to
you
help
might
you
want to
put
think
together.
about
Go ahead.
Right. When you're looking at your team, keep in mind that you might have friends that are incredible graphic design.
Yep.
They don't have any money right now because they're not working, but they're great with graphic design, and they can help you create the themes and the banners and the updates and the countdown Facebook posts as the countdown for your campaign happens. So try not to get hung up on who do I know that has money, or who do I know who's crowdfunded, or who do I know who has a huge network. Yes, those are great questions, but there might also just be people who have access to skill sets that you are going to need, whether it's a great editor to cut your video, a great musician who's willing to do original music for that, a graphic designer, invaluable. I did some of our stuff on Canva, like the little tiny updates along the way. Canva for free is fantastic, by the way.
She's getting really good at it too.
I'm getting better, but it really was the graphics that came from our team. So they couldn't be in the trenches with us every day, but they filled in those pieces. So keep thinking about that.
Because the quality, people, we all know this as storytellers. I mean, the quality that we can create in the crowdfunding, it's gonna speak to the quality of what we're creating as well. And
yeah,
not separate.
Yeah. So the team, it has various circles to it, right? So there's the team that's in the trenches. Then there's the support team, right? So who do you have that's going to do the content videos and the pitch videos? Who's going to edit those? Who's going to do your graphics? The campaigns that I believe are the most successful are very visually graphic. Your graphics tell the whole story, from the campaign page where it breaks down the sections, a graphic for your budget explaining where this money goes to the banners that Heather mentioned that are going to go on your Facebook pages pages and your Twitter pages and your Instagram pages. All of this then makes up your entire team. You may even bring somebody in to focus specifically on social media. A lot of my teams hire someone that just focuses on the Twitter the whole time. You may even bring in somebody that's specifically a publicist and bring them in. So you have to kind of say, okay, here's the team, what hats are they wearing? And then do we need to bring in another support team who's got these skills that we don't have? It's a production. I would say,
Again, it all depends on how big your budget is.
yes. I would say on average, a campaign that's looking to raise at least $30,000 and above spends about $5,000 just to get the campaign up and running and the support team hired.
Mm-hmm.
So you need a budget just to get your budget.
Yeah. And if you're somebody who's looking to raise,
sorry,
yeah, if you're looking to raise $2,500, for example, for my stage friends again, for just to cover the production cost of your coaching, your tech, your lighting design, your costume, or whatever, you know, again, don't let these big numbers we're talking about, you got to just scale it down. And there's still ways that you can, one, save yourself money on that goal. So maybe you only need 2,000 by creating these teams. And two, it increases the odds if you do build these teams to hit a goal like that. So don't let it overwhelm you. Just look to scale down.
I'm seeing a couple quick questions. Tasha asked about platforms. Lord, no. One platform at a time. Heather answered that. I'm just reiterating, one platform at a time. If not, first of all, you would drive yourself crazy. It's a full-time job. It's 24/7 for 30, 40, 50 days, you know, with the pre-production in there. You do not want to split your attention. You do not want to split your energy. You do not want to confuse people. In fact, if you have a website, I don't even care about it anymore. All roads lead to whatever platform you're funding on. So rather than tell everybody to go, hey, go to leahsavoli.com and then you can find the information. No. leahsavoli.com is going to direct forward right to my Kickstarter page or right to my Seed and Spark page. Only one link exists when you're crowdfunding. Only one thing is important when you're crowdfunding, because people lose track of things. You know, they go to leahsavoli.com, the next thing you know, they're looking at my voiceover reel or something and they got sidetracked, right? So we want to send people exactly to one platform, and we're going to focus all of our attention and energy there. Sai asked about people volunteering time. See that it becomes tricky, right? Because, oh, hey, I've got a buddy who's going to volunteer and he can do graphics. Well, does this buddy realize that on day 11, we might go, oh my God, this amazing thing just happened and we need a new graphic by 7 a.m. tomorrow morning? If he's volunteering, he might go, yeah, well, I've got a date. And then, you know, so it is best if you can. A lot of people work out payment plans. You know, a lot of people out there that are doing graphics and editing and things of that are also, you know, struggling creatives and are willing to do payment plans and things like that. So it's also going to depend on your relationships.
Yeah, I would say in that case, before you start, see if you can get 3 or 4 graphic designers in your circle so that you can not have to demand so much one. And hopefully their tones and their skill sets, you know, can work well together.
This was the section we laid out to talk about, okay, you look at your social media, right? If it's very low, traditional marketing, they say, you know, for every 100 flyers you hand out, one person is going to show up. It's really no different on social media. So really look at your numbers. You should have a Twitter page. You really should if you don't. And as far as Facebook goes, I don't care about your public page, your fan page, your like page. They really don't even do anything these days unless you're spending a lot of advertising dollars on them, just the way Facebook has changed things up. Well, so when we're talking about Facebook, just going forward, anytime we mention Facebook, we're talking about your personal Facebook page. That's where it's at. I would say the order of importance for you to know is personal emails is the strongest tool you have. Directly one-on-one, not big MailChimps or groups. And I have a template I can send everybody when this class is over that you can look at and you can use for yourself. Yeah.
You are so sweet to do that. You guys, you have no idea. That's a huge contribution for her to just give away. It really is.
Thank you. But it helps, you know, and it just kind of lays down, you know, how you're going to do this. So you get your 100 emails ready before day 1 even begins and you send it out when day 1 launches. So your personal emails are going to be your top And then it depends on who you are, but it's usually either Facebook or Twitter, vie for the second spot. Every platform tracks where pledges are coming from. So you can see the statistics in the background as to who's leading. But 9 times out of 10, it's either Facebook or Twitter in that second slot. And on your Facebook, that's where your personal friends and your community are, and your extended community. They're the ones that we're going to be focusing on. So take that time to build up your social media. We don't have time to go into all of the nuts and bolts of how to build up your social media here, but I can give you a few quick tips. Follow people. Follow people that are doing things that are interesting to you or that relate to your project. If you've decided you're going to be on Seed and Spark, follow Seed and Spark and follow some of the people that they're tweeting about. Follow some of the campaigns that they're talking about. Retweet somebody else's campaign. Contribute to somebody else's campaign. On Facebook, in the communities, the filmmaker communities, the theater communities, get involved. Click like on people's things and share it. That way, when it's your turn, they know who you are. And they know that you've been supportive of other things in the past. You're not just showing up in this Facebook group going, hey, here's my crowdfunding campaign. Thanks, everybody. Instead, they're like, oh, wow.
And that's why you got to, that's why you got to build up your lead time. That's why you've got to build up your lead time and start to engage.
Sadi, I would, is it Satya? Is it Satya?
Satya.
Satya, okay. I would, for Twitter, I mean, it depends on your following. We decided on Twitter to make a page for our show, but we also used our own pages during the campaign. So we decided to build our show's page while we were also using our own pages, and definitely personal for Facebook.
100% personal. Yeah. And I got to tell you that our contributions, I'm looking at the back end. That's the other thing I love about Seed and Spark. I can still see all of this. That Facebook and our direct emails were like this for where all of our contributions came from. And those were through personal pages, you know? So you also want to look too, and I know it's really hard right now, but you want to look right now and make sure that the communities you're connected to on Facebook are the ones you want to support and be connected to right now. And the things that you're saying on Facebook are going to reflect well on you and whatever project you're about to build, and is consistent with the message you want to stand there, because you, whether you know it or not, you have an audience already. And as a creative, you really want to take into account who you want to be for that audience. What's the voice you want to project into that audience? Because that's who you're going to be counting on to get behind you in a lot of ways. So it can be really, like I said, Michelle and I didn't have a huge following, either one of us on Facebook, but the fact that through our personal pages, it almost matched our direct email donations is kind of amazing, actually. And I'll
say this about that too. Heather, and this is a great that it was a growth area for our team. I mean, Heather's people were used to her really communicating through the platforms. My community wasn't used to me communicating through the platforms so regularly. So it was like a different kind of climb for me. And taking that time to be a regular voice in your communities and regularly connecting and commenting and have the platforms be a place that you are really engaged with is useful.
That makes me think of one other thing too. When's the last time you actually went through your email list and made sure you had current emails for people that you know, love, and care about? I know it was shocking. I was shocked at how out of date my email contact lists were and how many people I didn't have personal emails for anymore. So it took something for me to get that cleaned up before I could even do. And if you work with Leah, she gives you even more refined, but that 100 emails, it took a minute, and I had to take responsibility for where I had not been engaged in maintaining relationships that mattered to me, so that I didn't have that info. And it was kind of interesting because I got to connect with a lot of people. I mean, some of the biggest donors to the campaign for my friends group are people that I had had almost zero interaction with in 10 years, but getting reconnected to them through this, they threw some of the most money at me of anybody. It was shocking.
Yes. And
so you might surprise yourself who will step up.
I want to add to what Heather was just saying is I have found that to be the case with the majority of campaigns. And I think this is why. A lot of times your childhood friends and the people you haven't seen since high school and college don't work and live in this crazy industry that we do. And
Right.
maybe their lives are a little bit more stable. Maybe their finances are a little bit more stable. And to them, this is something so exciting and so big that they want to be a part of. I literally have had, I remember one female director I worked with, she would call me up crying because, you know, my cousin hasn't pledged. And then she'd call me up the next day crying because, oh my gosh, my 7th grade best friend just said $100, you know, and you will have these. I'm seeing a couple quick questions. Therese said, what if you follow more people than follow you? You know what, when social media first came out, everybody said that was taboo. Oh my gosh, you can't be following more people than follow you. With crowdfunding, that's the complete reverse. All bets are off. I would actually like you all, I don't even need to know how many people you're following on Twitter. Today is Friday. By Monday, I want you following another 100 people. I want you to get on your Twitter and I want you to go, okay, what's my project about? My project is about extraterrestrials. So I'm going to search about extraterrestrials, and anybody that's talking about them, you know, within reason, I'm going to go follow them right now. Now, 9 out of 10 people are going to look to see who just followed me. And if you are tweeting and talking about something extraterrestrials that's of interest to them, chances are they're going to follow you back. And that's how you organically build followers. Or let's say, hey, my project is similar to Down the Middle. Well, guess what? Go over to Down the Middle and follow 50 to 100 people that follow Down the Middle. They're going to go look and see what you're about, and they're going to go, oh, this reminds me of Down the Middle. Isn't this a fun series that's coming out? And they're going to follow you back. Just to touch on again about creating the other handle, Michelle and Heather already had their own separate Twitter handles, and then they decided to create one for the project. In many cases, right now we have time. Sometimes when people come to me and they're like, we're launching in a month, I'm like, well, you know what, then let's just go with your personal accounts. We don't have time to build a project account. But chances are there's going to be people out there that don't necessarily care about what Shannon's tweeting about, but would care about what Shannon's project is about. And so then that gives them the leeway that they can follow your project versus following you as a person. Or perhaps it's your production company. Maybe you have other ideas in mind. And so rather than specifically, this is the Down the Middle series handle, this is the production company's site so that you can utilize it after that project is already done and over with as well. And Tasha, yes, I think now is a perfect time to do what Heather was just talking about and reaching out to people via email, reconnecting, making sure I have your proper contact information. How are you doing during these crazy times? This is a perfect time to reconnect and clean up your contact list, because I want you to start making a list of those 100 emails that you're going to send out on day one. And that could be your kindergartner teacher is still alive. Wow, Mrs. Jones, can't believe you finally retired. Guess what I'm up to? And then you're going to send her that email. So you're going to start making that list, and now is the perfect time to do that.
Well, and I think that to that point, it's the perfect time to be reconnecting with our communities.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
know? And if you know, it doesn't sound like you're ready to launch tomorrow.
Yep.
But if you were, I would also say to tonally figure out and strategically figure out how you're going to talk about why you're launching during this time.
Yep.
You know, so it's not like devoid of awareness.
Yep.
You know, so you really want to take care of people and be aware and bring that into what you're doing.
Yeah. Should we do the drawing?
Sure. As you get that ready, Heather's going to get the drawing ready. I'm going to answer these questions real quickly. Yes, Heather said individually, Satya. You'll understand that more when you get that template. But the first 100 emails, these are individual. These are literally, dear Mrs. Jones, I just saw you retired. Congratulations. Leah, saw that you just were up the mountains. Wow, that looked fun. So that it becomes a personal email before you explain the campaign and the steps and what you're looking for, so that I know that you took 5 seconds out of your life to look on my Facebook page and see what's going on in my world before you asked for money. Now, as the campaign continues, then yes, I suggest once a week, some sort of MailChimp. And what Heather and Michelle did that I really enjoyed was they created the MailChimp. I believe, Heather, you had done the MailChimp, right? You created the MailChimp from scratch, But what she did was, as people pledged, she took them off of the MailChimp list. That way, when the next week's message went out, people that had already pledged weren't getting hit up again with an updated email.
And actually,
So
we
keep
both
track of
did
that.
for
Yes.
our
Yeah, we
personal
both did that.
contacts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We both set up our own MailChimp, and there were the blasts that went out. And then anytime somebody pledged, they came off of that list and got onto the already donated list, so that we were always keeping them separate and people weren't getting spammed and they weren't hearing about it when they've already given, right?
Yes.
So they would get a different email that would be like, hey, thank you so much. Guess where we are thanks to you. It was like a completely different communication than the people who hadn't donated yet.
Those are details that are really important in taking care of your community.
Yeah. And that's how you build an audience, by the way. I mean, it's part of why we were talking about Jen coming on as a producer. She got invested in all of it. Because of the way we were talking about what we hoped this comedy would do for people and the fun that it would bring and the connections it would bring and the way it would make people examine opposites. And then when she saw people getting up underneath us, that's one of the big things too. And I know we all touch on this, but you really have to get to like 30 to 33% of your goal in the first 3 days, because people, the mathematics on it is, if they see right off the bat you have zero traction and you have this huge goal, they go, they are never going to make it, poor thing, and they don't even bother.
Yeah.
If something that got momentum, people get excited, and that's part of why having the all or nothing goal makes a difference, because they're like, oh God, they're going to make it anyway.
Yeah, let's go there. Couple quick questions real quick. Direct messaging on Facebook, John, absolutely. The 100 emails is just where you start, and then you do not stop. So you're going to be messaging people on your Facebook, you're going to be messaging people on LinkedIn, you're going to be messaging people on mailing loops and whatnot, and then you'll be following up with them. So that 100 is just your bare minimum start. Then you're going to message people directly every place you can. Tasha, yeah, you can create a company handle even if you're not officially incorporated. Why not? You create that page, and then down the line, if it becomes incorporated, great. But then that becomes your handle that's already there and you've already got the name reserved. Really weird question. Is there any component of being irritating? Yes, Kevin, there is.
Can I say something about that?
Go for it.
Here's the trick of that, Kevin. That's part of why, one, you start connecting in your relationships now. That's part one. Part two is, I had that same concern. Leah will tell you, I was absolutely paranoid about that. But what I found was, so a couple things. We were really responsible for our messaging, always starting from appreciation.
Yes.
And anytime somebody made a pledge, I don't care. Because we get them in batches, but we would do a thank you post calling them out on Facebook, on Twitter, on whatever, every single time. And anytime we could personalize it. So like if it was, like I had friends from middle school that came out of the woodwork and donated $50. Not only would I thank them, but if I had a picture of us together, I would post a picture. If there was something funny I could say about, you were one of the first plays that I did in middle school. Remember when I played the whatever, I always looking for how to personally acknowledge. So I think what that did is, no matter how many times I posted, the people who hadn't donated yet, all they were seeing was excitement, passion, and gratitude. Yes. And and they want to be part of that because it's a good thing that's happening and there's good people doing it. So it has to do with, it's creating your posts and creating your messaging such that it's in service of the vision you have for your project and in gratitude for people who believe in that. Mm-hmm. And not at all about help. If you come from, I need help, people will run away.
That, and the other thing is this is where the algorithms thing come in again. I was so worried about how much we were supposed to post every day. I'm like, isn't that going to just be annoying? People do not see the way the news feeds work.
They don't see it.
Not see all your posts. Like, I'll see a post from someone and go to their Facebook page and be shocked that post was like 4 posts down, not the one that was the most recent.
You guys, I am so proud to hear Heather and Michelle talking like this. They didn't talk like this last year. But no, everything they're saying is true. I like to say, for 30 days, you've become the town crier. And you're standing up on the top of the hill ringing your little bell. But there's this fine balance between help me, and, oh my God, this project is so awesome. If you're too help me, help me, help me, people get turned off. They don't want to help you. If you're too, oh my God, this project is awesome, people get turned off. They don't want to help you. You don't need their help. So it's this fine balance between, we have this amazing project we believe in, and we need your help to make it happen. So every post has to be a call to action, is what I like to say. And since we're diving in a little bit on the posting and the amounts, are you ready?
For the raffle?
No, well, yes, get that. I was just gonna say, my personal recommendation for Facebook is that you are doing a new call to action on your personal Facebook page about every 5 hours, every day. Look at Satya.
Believe me,
Look
we
at
had the same reaction. There was a complete and utter panic when she told us this. And if anything, I have more followers and ended up with more friends and more followers on Facebook than I did when we did the campaign. I mean, it sounds counterintuitive, and I get that, but when it's done well.
Yeah. Now you lose people, but then you gain them back. One of my clients on Twitter, he had close to 1 million followers. And he was concerned as well. He's like, am I going to start losing followers? And he did, but then the amount he gained took him above where he was. Here's what I like to say about your personal page. Okay, will it be annoying? When you finally hit that sweet spot where somebody says, oh my gosh, Kevin, enough, you know you're finally reaching people. Because people, like Michelle was saying, you don't see every single post. And people live in different time zones. People also have different social media habits. If you work in an office where Facebook is blocked from 9 to 5, you're never seeing those posts. So you kind of got to make sure you're posting breakfast. It's breakfast, lunch, late afternoon, dinner, and bedtime, when you put it that way, right? And different people are going to see it and whatnot. Now, we'll get into a little bit in step 5 of our outline. We'll get into a little bit about what some of those posts are going to look like. But just keep that in mind, that that's kind of be the amount of your posting. And now, Heather, I know we're doing a raffle. So we have, I believe we have 5 or 6 raffle entries. Heather, do you want to take that away? Now this we offer to our creators. Our creators that are people of color. BIPOC is the new latest term. And we just kind of, we were just kind of putting it out there that we wanted to offer something special for you guys that are joining today, that we see you and that we hear you. And the winner of this raffle will get to dive deeper with the 3 of us, specifically on your project and your points. And we'll set that up later. So Heather wanted to do the raffle. Do it.
And I do have one request. I already pushed the button. I put all your names in this mechanical generator, and then it spits it out. And my only request is that whoever wins this, you have to promise that you will pass on what you gain to somebody else. That whatever you learn and whatever foundation you get, that you will be sure to empower another one of your fellow creators, because it's so invaluable. Okay, you ready? So I'm going to push the button, and whatever comes up, comes up. All right. Satya Vani, you won the raffle. Congratulations. And then you can pass it on to all of your fellow fundraisers.
Oh, like she said I never win. Well, you won today.
Anymore, this never business.
Yeah, you don't get to say that again.
Can't say that anymore.
So we'll set something up.
Awesome.
The date after this that works for everybody.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be right away. If we can be right away if you're ready to dive in deeper, but if you're like, let me circle back to you guys after I absorb all this, that's fine too. So let's jump into, ladies, the elements of the campaign. So This is your pitch video.
There's a lot there.
This is your pitch video. This is the text that you're putting on your page. These are your perks. This is your additional video content, right? So a lot of people think, oh, I just need to put up a good video and some perks and boom, it's just going to be successful. Not really how it happens. So let's dive into the pitch video, guys. How did you decide? What I like to say is no more than like 90 seconds is really all you need. In some cases, a little bit longer if it's really interesting and the storytelling was good. And I think you guys were a little longer, but I allowed that because you guys are just so good on camera and the flow. But that's a little fine line. You gotta be honest with yourself. Is this interesting or not? But typically about 90 seconds or so. It should do one of three things: excite, inspire, or pull at the heartstrings. If it can do all three, great. It should be in the tone of your project. If you are an action film, those first couple seconds better start off with some damn action. If it's a thriller, those first couple seconds better start off with some thriller, even if you have to go shoot something, so that the people that are watching it are going to get the tone and the production value of your campaign before you go into, hi, I'm Alexandra, yada, 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 yada. So Heather, Michelle, how did you guys come up with the amazing pitch video that you had?
This was our team. David and Bryce with Drama 3-4 said they wanted to write the script, and we kind of went, okay.
Ken's like, yay.
And it was great. And we weren't sure. We were kind of nervous. But when we read it, excuse me, when we read it, it was the first time that they really got our voices. And we were kind of shocked because we just didn't get that they really got our voices like that.
Yeah, and we stood our ground with them too about the components of it, because we had watched, there was a really good, before we met with Leah, we had watched a video on Seed Spark. They have a million free tutorial type video things, and
all free stuff on Seed Spark you can watch.
All free right now. You can go get it. But Leah really reiterated that too, about being in the tone and being in the style. So we're like, okay, it's got to be short. It's got to be really funny. It's got to demonstrate the opposites that we are. And then there's certain calls to action to the community. Like, what is, this is who we are. This is what the product stands for. This is the team we've got together. And this is why we need you. And this is what we're committed to create if you do. So it was, we took to heart everything they were saying about this. This isn't just a 90-second video begging for help and please and how much it means to you. And no, it's about the project, and there's a call to action for them to be part of something, not to help something. And that's a very different, and let me tell you, it's a lot more fun to create it that way than to create a 90-second video that says, can you help me?
Yeah,
I mean, we had a blast.
We did, and it's an opportunity to create like the vortex of what you're calling in. To speak Aurora, my character is easy. You get to really, you're an entertainer. Mm-hmm. So you want people to feel what you're about to bring to the table and get excited about it.
Yeah. So, and again, this is where you look at your team. Look, technology, there's so much you can do these days. I mean, guys, you could literally have somebody recording your Zoom and create these videos, and you could have your team gathered in a Zoom session and record and have a script of who's going to say what and bounce back and forth. I mean, there's so many things you can do with technology now that I know it seems overwhelming, but again, this is when you look out into your community and say, who can help me do this?
And now Heather and Michelle had a very scripted pitch video, very scripted. They knew exactly what they were going to do. Most of their stuff was very scripted. You don't necessarily have to be very scripted. And I would say, encourage you to shoot and then edit. Like, don't be editing while you're shooting, right? You've got this number in your head. Oh, Leah said it should only be about 90 seconds long. So we're only going to say this and this and this. No, let your team talk. Let your director introduce him or herself. Let your makeup artist introduce herself. Whoever's already on board on the team, let them all talk and be on camera. Now, maybe only 10 or 15 seconds of them ends up in that main video, but you then can use that content throughout your 30 days because you're going to need more videos. So maybe on day 7, you've decided to put a spotlight on your hair and makeup artist, and now you can release that extra video content you had. Or on day 22, your director has a spotlight, and now you've got her video that you're putting out and a little spotlight on her. So when you do shoot that pitch video, you should also think about what other content that you want to shoot. One of those things, Michelle, one second. One of those things is milestone videos. And so Heather and Michelle, you guys did your milestone videos as we went along. But what I suggest is typically just like on pitch video day, bring a change of costume, bring a change of clothes. You change your clothes, you do a video. Hey, everybody, we just hit $5,000. Woo-hoo-hoo. Change your clothes. Wow, we just hit $10,000. This is amazing. You pop open some champagne when you've hit that halfway mark, whatever it is. But these videos are already produced, edited, and they're in private waiting on YouTube because you've got so much much going on when the campaign is actually running that you don't have time to stop and shoot and edit a new video. So this is all part of the pre-production, getting this all together. Michelle, you were about to say something about the video.
We did do them one at a time.
Oh. Yes, you guys did do them one at a time.
At first.
At first, okay.
First.
And yeah. Well, I was just going to say that our pitch video was scripted, but we took to heart because we did some promos that were not scripted, and then we gave them to the guys who edited and made great little things that we could sprinkle throughout the campaign that really were in the tone of the characters in the show. And we did do those pretty early on. So we did have a mix of like really scripted and also just, you know, free for all, knowing we were leaning into our characters. And then gave them a book material to work with for the editing.
And
we did initially, because we saw each other all the time, we did initially do those milestone videos along the way, and it was freaking crazy. And so then we did exactly what she said. She came to my kitchen, and she and I went in and out and changed clothes, made different signs of, oh, we hit 15, yay, we hit 20, hey, we're 5,000 away or whatever. And then we had our celebration one where we had a cake and the whole nine thing. And and do you remember what a bad day that was, Michelle? I don't remember what had happened, but you and I were both just like not at all in a celebrating. So we had to keep, it was a real test of our acting because we had to keep creating these celebration videos for things that hadn't happened yet. but it saved us.
The campaign. But what was really cool is to see how well we worked together and supported each other because we made it happen. I remember that. And I remember actually we went to dinner afterwards and I like laid down in a bunch of flowers under a tree and I thought I was losing my mind. I just started laughing, like, you know, the little insane moments, just like what that happened inside a marathon.
Yeah, it was nuts.
John just asked, besides posting these videos, these milestones on the fundraising page, do they go to social media as well? The answer is yes. So we're kind of getting into, well, this is in the section. So we like to create a 30-day calendar. And so this you're working on as you're leading up to your campaign. I use a Google Doc. I literally just put 1 through 30 down the side, like day 1 through 30. And across the top, I ask some questions. What new content are we putting out today? Do we have a campaign update that we're writing today? Is there some press that's happening today? Is there some sort of graphic that needs to be happening today? Is there a perk that we're spotlighting today? Now, not every box is going to have a yes in every box for every day, but at least one should have, at least one box on every day should have something happening in there. And so this is something you plan ahead of time. So as we're talking about this content video, I like to say, like, pick a day of the week that something is going to happen. So with Heather and Michelle, every Friday, they did Friday Facebook Live, and then they recorded it. And then what Michelle's talking about is then the production team took those little Friday Facebook Live clips and edited them into another little piece that we put out. And then you guys did, what would the opposite videos called? Like, how are you like your character and how are you not like your character? And so those
we just shot those individually. Yeah, we just shot those individually with our phones
at your home, right?
Yep. Sitting in the corner.
And then those went out on a specific day of the week. So what I like to say is, like, look at a day of the week. I had a client who her mom's name was Mary, and her mom was integral to the story. It was a story about her childhood. So what she did was she did these interviews with her mom, and every Monday she put out a new little clip called Mondays with Mary. There was a Demon Hunter web series I worked on, and what they did was they did Monster Monday. Every Monday they put out a new little clip describing one of the monsters that was going to be in their web series. Now they shot this content all ahead of time, but then they could fill in the calendar. Well, it's Monday, so we know we're putting out a Monster Monday video on this Monday and this Monday and this Monday and this Monday. Well, boom, you've got 4 days of content covered right there. And so you're kind of just kind of looking. Now, to answer John's question, it's always going to go onto the campaign page first because you want your backers to see it first. You want them to feel important. But then from there, it's going everywhere. It's going on Facebook. It's going on Twitter. It's going on Instagram. It goes everywhere. So you do need to either have a YouTube page or a Vimeo page that you can upload it, because you're going to need that link for the platform itself, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Seed and Spark, you need the link. But then what I suggest over on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, you're going to upload it natively. Facebook prefers that you upload videos to Facebook rather than just send a YouTube link. Instagram, Twitter prefer that you upload the video directly to their page rather than send a Facebook link.
Otherwise, you get
versa.
lost in the algorithm. They
So
literally
it's going to go
sink
everywhere.
in priority.
Yes. So those video contents, they are going to go everywhere. And then spontaneous stuff is great too. Hey, I don't know what to do today. I'm going to go live on Instagram and talk about my project. I'm going to go live on Facebook and talk about my project. We talked about Instagram. I would say if you have an Instagram, use it, but don't kill yourself. Out of all the platforms out there, it's the least likely to have a return of investment for crowdfunding. I don't know exactly why, but I think possibly because it's like link in bio rather than you can't just click straight through.
Right.
So don't kill yourself on Instagram, but if you have one, once a day, post something. Great.
Right. Or I would say if you have a huge following, like if you're someone who has 10,000 Twitter or Instagram followers or something, well, then you got to get creative about keeping that link in the bio and using your
But you know what, Heather?
stories, unless it's a strong platform.
Heather, I had a client last summer who wanted to prove me wrong. He had 30,000 Instagram followers.
And barely any. Ours, we barely made it.
Nothing. Not one pledge came through Instagram. And he had 30,000 Instagram followers, and he had other influencer friends that were sharing his stuff back and forth to their stories. And they had so many followers, they could do the swipe up thing. Not one pledge came through Instagram.
I believe it, because I always hate with Insta that I can't access a link directly from anywhere without getting out of what I'm in, you know. So
or Insta TV though, because now it's I think a little more access, you know.
Possibly, but this guy was last summer and I saw nothing happen. Emma asked about the 5,000 up front to try to get the team going. You know what? It's going to depend who you talk to. Me personally, nope, I don't do 1 ounce of work till I at least get like half of my payment up front. I get paid up front, then I get paid the other half, win or lose. I've raised over $6 million. I've worked with 60 campaigns for 6 years. This is a business. I don't know a whole lot of people out there that can afford to work for 3, 4, 5 weeks on your project without getting paid, or with the hopes of maybe getting paid if you hit it. So that's something, you know, that you kind of have to come to terms with yourself, whether, okay, maybe I need to save up a little before I can hire the team that I need so that I can get it done. Or do I have friends that are willing to work on back pay? Or there are people out there that are willing to do payment plans, and I'm always willing to do payment plans and stuff like that. But a good chunk of the money comes before the campaign even starts, let alone before it ends, because it's hard work. It's going to depend, you know, on how many people you need to hire. And that's something we can talk about when we do the one-on-one session. You know, maybe you have great editing skills, so now you don't have to hire the editor, or maybe you have great graphic skills, so that's another cost off your list, you know. So it's really going to depend who you know and what they're willing to put into the project. But I do think for a campaign of 30,000 or larger, on average, it's about $5,000 when you add up everybody that you've hired. For me personally, depending on the level and the size of your campaign, it's anywhere from about $1,000 to like $3,000-$4,000, depending on what we're doing together. So there's that.
To work with you in terms of full campaign manager or not.
Depending on whether we're just consulting or whether we're in there full time together. It can range anywhere. Well, it can range anywhere from like a $200 session upwards to like $3,000, you know, depending on the levels that we're working together at. And I will say that there was once, I've never done it again, but there was once I tried to start adding up the amount of hours I spend on my campaigns. And I started to get really sick when I saw what my hourly wage actually started to be when I added up those numbers. So I don't do that again. I mean, literally, guys, when I'm in the trenches with you full time, it's like I'm answering phone calls and text messages every single day. You're in
That's absolutely true.
7 days a week, 24/7. Like we're in this together. There's never a day where I'm like, sorry, can't talk today.
She's also like a therapist, which for the cost was really reasonable, because when we were having breakdowns about what was happening, she would so talk us off the ledge because had so much experience with it. that she knew when we were hitting these lows or things weren't going on or whatever, she was like, it's okay. This is normal. And I would never have believed that if we didn't kind of have her, you know, in our back pocket. So.
Yeah, absolutely. You're gonna hit lows. And that's, you know, that's something we can touch on right now. Something good to have is, you know, the first day of your campaign is going to be, is the most important day of the campaign. You need to have, and Heather touched on this earlier, every platform out there will tell you, you need to raise the first 30% of your campaign budget in the first 3 days. And if you don't think that's possible, then your goal is too high. I prefer you raise it in like the first 2 days. And Heather touched on that, is that it's the psychology of it, right? So if you set your goal over here and, you know, day 1, day 2, day 3, you're barely moving, you've lost people. They think you're never going to hit it. There's no momentum. Everybody wants to bet on the winning horse. They're not going to jump on the ship that they think might sink, right? Even if it's only $5, I want my $5 to go to the project that's going to actually happen. So we want it to be psychologically within reason that if our goal is here and we have this much came in on day 1, wow, right? We want to get up high up on the hill on day 1 as possible before our feet hurt and while we still have rations and energy and supply, because we're climbing a mountain for 30 days. Day 30 tends to be the second most exciting day. Typically, the momentum you see in the beginning also appears at the end. Week 2 and week 3 become a bit of a slow zone, could be a dead zone. So for those people that like to do campaigns longer than 30 days, I think you're crazy, because you've just extended the dead zone. Week 1 and the first week and the last week are always going to be popular. All those weeks in the middle is when you have to get so creative and continue to be putting content out there and continuing to communicate with your backers and making sure you message people. And even so much so, guys, this is going to sound silly, but the girls did this with me and we're going to do it. Let's say Heather posts something on Facebook. I don't care if me and Michelle are sitting at the table next to her. We're going to click like on Heather's post and we're going to go, oh my God, that's so exciting. Oh, wow. Thank you so much.
Right.
And we're going to have a conversation back and forth in public, because then you see that we're having fun and you see that it's exciting. And then, you know, just algorithms, as people comment, more people see it. So make sure that when we're talking about that team, also consider who's going to be that team of people who will, at least, even if they can't contribute monetarily or with a service, will you make sure you like everything I post? Will you make sure you share everything I post?
I had a friend named Marcia who, she's older. She's on a really, really fixed income. That woman, there is not a single thing that I posted that she did not repost to her whole community. And it was the cutest thing in the world. Like she took pride in the fact that I am helping Heather with this campaign, because and I think that's part of what drove my Facebook, because there was a few people like that where they couldn't contribute. And I was like, look, I love you. You have no idea what it means that you're sharing. You're helping reach a bigger audience, and that's all that I need. And she was just so happy to be able to do that. And I know for a fact that one of my friends heard it. A mutual friend of ours didn't hear about it from me. He heard about it from her. And that was of a pretty sizable pledge, actually.
To this point, 2 things on that. Some people say you want to line up your pledges to hit that 30% before the start, like have to really commit, which is an interesting conversation, right? That could be a growth area it was for me.
Yeah.
I don't think I was successful in it at the time, but it is a really great and key strategy. So that it's just kind of like, you know, that people are going to do that. The other thing is that I had people reach out to me before they launched their campaign and ask me to be on their like circle of 10 who are going to repost and do the things. And so it's like not in the trenches so much, but like a circle out, and I'll commit or not commit to being on the team with them of keeping momentum flowing and reaching new communities and stuff like that. But I think it's really smart to ask for that kind of next circle of support for your month.
Yeah, along that lines, I know I had one director who she made phone calls before launching, like an old school fund drive of, hey, this is when we're launching. What can I count on you for? And she called me up and she was like, okay, Leah, I think I've got $6,000 that's going to come in on day 1. Her campaign was a $30,000 campaign, but she was a team of 1, her and me. So she's like, I think I've got $6,000 committed. So when day 1 happened, all she had to do was send those emails that she'd already written and shoot a text of like, hey, sent you that email, looking forward to that $75 you pledged. She's like, I think I've got 6,000. 8,000 came in on day one because she had done so much legwork and got people committed to exactly what they were going to pledge, and they came through and they made those pledges. But it takes you out of your comfort zone. It absolutely takes you out of your comfort zone, because guess what? Sometimes you send those 100 emails and not much happens. So you've got to do a follow-up, or you've got to do a text message, or you, God forbid, you got to pick up the phone and say, did you get that email I sent? It has all the instructions on how to pledge. Let me know if you have any questions with it. Crowdfunding is not easy. Even for the most extroverted people, it really puts you out there, and you have to be ready. You're going to experience some huge highs and some huge lows.
Yeah. There's a couple
with capital H. Sorry.
yeah, a couple of things about that. So the first thing is, so let me back up because well, I'll say the second one first, and the other one will come back to me. Yes, you're outside of your comfort zone, but I want to offer something, and that is, if you want to be a creative who gets things made, you're gonna have to get uncomfortable, and this is a really good practice ground for that. Because compared to sitting in a network meeting or sitting down with a potential, executive producer for a film, this is a little simpler than that, right? So unless you already have experience with that, I do not. But if the reality is, if you want to be someone who's always creatively getting stuff out there, you're gonna have to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yep.
And the other part of it, this other thing I was going to say is, in terms of personal outreach, I know Michelle and I started posting about our meetings when we were writing the script. And we started posting about our meetings when we were laughing at ourselves because we had done improvs where we had recorded hilarious improvs and some of the lines we said to each other that we laughed about. So we were already engaging our community that we were working on something before we even knew we were going to do crowdfunding. So that's another tip you could take, is if you're not sharing with your community about the things you're working on and how excited you are and the people you're talking to and what you're hoping for. And I saw this movie and it reminds me of what I'm working on. It's a really good idea to start doing that now.
Well, and I think that touches
if you're creative.
That touches on what Heather's saying to content. We talked about, oh, wow, you're posting 5 times a day on Facebook. People love to see behind the curtain. They love the behind the scenes. Oh, hey, we had a team meeting today. Here's a photo of us at our team meeting, or hey, here's a little video because we had a Zoom production call behind the scenes. People love to get that look behind the curtain. So that can always be added to your, what do I post today? Well, what can I share? What can I show people behind the scenes? Or maybe it's, I'm sure some of you have some projects you're working on that are pretty intense, personally intense projects. Maybe turn the camera on and show some vulnerability. Hey, I hit this wall today and this is what I'm feeling, but you know what? I'm still trudging forward, and here's the link. Pledge what you can. Like, you're always gonna end it with that. Ladies, I know we're running quickly out of time. I want to touch on perks real quick, and then it looks like we've covered a lot in between there. Then let's jump down to backer communications after perks. Perks, we could talk for an hour about perks. Everybody always has so many damn questions about perks. Here's what I gotta say. When I get an email and somebody's crowdfunding, 2 thoughts run through my mind. The first thought is, how well do I like this person? And the second question is, what's in my bank account right now? So I kind of have a number in my head before I even look at your campaign, right? So, okay, Sarah's crowdfunding. I got $20 for Sarah. So I go to her page, not necessarily looking for, oh my God, what kind of cool perk does she have? But what's around the $20 level that I can grab? The only way I'm really going to go higher than what I already had in my head is maybe something at 25 or 30 was a little cool, or experiential rewards. I love telling people to use experiential rewards in who's in your circle who can maybe offer, or you, a cooking class or a dance class or a hair and makeup or an editing session, or they can look over your script, or we sit down with our producer, or we sit down, any number of things. So search you and your team and your bigger community as, hey, what can you offer? Hey, I know you do horseback riding lessons. Would you be okay with offering one of those up to my campaign? Because what happens is then I see that and I say, oh, wow, $150 for a private one-on-one horseback lesson. Well, I've always wanted to do that, but I didn't feel good about spending that money on myself. But it's also going to go to John's project. So now I'm killing two birds with one stone, and I feel better about making a larger contribution. Other things real quick, again, we could cover this for hours. Start digital as much as possible. The small prizes should be digital downloads, digital soundtracks, digital posters, digital postcards, because that's saving you shipping costs, right?
Yes.
Nobody's really looking for all these gizmos and gadgets. They're just looking to contribute at a level that makes sense to them, unless it's some kind of experience, or like we talked about in the beginning, those people that are looking for producer credits or that want their name in the thank you credits. They want some IMDb credits. Obviously, with everything that's going on right now, this is going to be challenging, but the perks of come visit us on set or be in the post-production room with us, or, you know, get to see behind the scenes of whatever they might be harder to fulfill right now. But those are always good things to have. And then this is fun. This is one I like. And this is one the girls fought me on, you guys. They fought me on this. You guys know what I'm going to talk about? Towards the end,
so many things.
towards the end of the campaign, I like to do what I call bonus perks or add-on perks. And these are just little tchotchke kind of things. I had a client, her project was about dancing. So at the end, we added on some like leg warmers. Well, with Down the Middle, what we did was we broke it up. And so Heather's character, Karen, offered for an extra $8, $10, you could get a practical pen from Karen. Or Michelle's character.
It had the name of the series.
Right? It had the name of the actual office in the series. Michelle's character, Aurora, for $10, $12, offered a relaxation adult coloring book. Or you could get the combo of both the coloring book and the pen for like $20 or something. And they fought me. They were like, oh, really? Are people really going to get this? Then we have to order pens. Then we have to do a coloring book. Then we have, because they did really well with avoiding shipping things. This was going to be the one big thing that we had to ship. So it was so much that I had to say, yes, and I will help ship. Like I literally went over Heather's house one afternoon and we did the envelopes and the addresses. But here's the thing, and I think they will back me up on this. It didn't bring a whole lot of extra money in. It brought a couple $100s in, but it brought more momentum and excitement and energy as the campaign was ending, right?
Yes.
And I was surprised at those people who bought them. I was like, wow.
And my aunt, like, she's like, I want 20 pens or something. Right?
I know, like they're putting it for like 10 pens, 12 pens, 20 pens. And then at the end of the day, most of them said, well, you don't really need to ship us the pens.
I didn't really want it. I just thought that was a really cute idea. And I'm like, but I have 200 pens now. I still have a lot of pens. I'm just saying.
So save those for like your last couple days. And what I like to do, especially if you haven't hit the goal yet, okay, we're $3,000 away from goal. You put that out in a campaign update and you say, hey, we did the math. If everybody added $11 to their pledge, we'll hit goal today. Or we have this awesome coffee mug that we, you know, it's basically just trying to get you to goal in a fun, exciting way.
And I really encourage you, if you guys haven't looked at our campaign on Seed and Spark, I really encourage you to go look and see what our perks were, you know, because some of the, and she's right, the most popular ones were experiential. I mean, I did an hour-long Zoom session to talk about creating your own one-person show. And that was by far one of the biggest ones that sold out. And for me, I love talking about it anyway. You know, and my husband does some editing and he offered up some editing stuff and those went like that. So like, you know, it doesn't have to be complicated.
Yeah. But what was fun about it is too, the staying again in the entertainment value and the tone, you can look at it on our page. Our perks made sense. The titles of them and the pictures went along with odd couples, you know, in entertainment. And so,
and that's part of the branding, you know, so do that. You know, Michelle and Heather's campaign, every perk level was named after a famous odd couple. I had a guitar player. Every perk level was named after a famous guitar player. If it's a romantic comedy, maybe it's the first date, meet the parents, first kiss. Make everything branded about your tone so that no matter where people look, they're getting the vibe of your project. Which takes us into the last section that we wanted to cover was backer communications and your messaging being on brand. And this is where we talk about kind of the platform itself. So you've probably heard us mention multiple times already today, updates. So if you've pledged to a crowdfunding campaign before, you've probably realized that every so often you get like an email update from the campaign. Well, that's the official campaign update. Every platform that you have out there is going to have some sort of updating system. My rule of thumb for that is approximately every 3 to 4 days, you're going to put out an official update. Couple reasons for this. A lot of people that pledged, especially the older generation, might not be following your every move on social media. Granny doesn't know what's going on Facebook, but she does know she gave $100 and she wants to know what's happening. So she's going to enjoy those updates that come every 3 or 4 days. The other thing is algorithms. It's another moving piece of the campaign. They want you using the tools that they give you. So as you're putting more updates out, your algorithm numbers are improving. And lastly, it's the stranger factor. We talked about how, strangers want to bet on the winning horse. Well, they don't know you. They come across your project. It interests them. But the last public update you did was 6, 7, 8 days ago. Well, remember what we said in the beginning, 50% of all campaigns fail. So they might have thought you quit. You gave up. They haven't put an update out in 9 days. There's nothing going on here. But if you keep it in that 3 to 4 day window, chances are there's still an active campaign because we see the update and we see the information that's happening. What goes in those updates? First of all, the tone, the messaging. We want to say, I worked with a horror film, so every update was like, "Dear bloodsuckers," and we signed off "Eternally yours." Talk in the messaging of your campaign. I like to start off with your greeting and then some statistics. A little screenshot of what's going on in the back of your campaign that nobody else can see. The numbers and the percentages for all the math geeks out there. They like to see those numbers moving. So start off with that. Then the body is something new. Now you know what you've got on your calendar. So is this a day where you're putting out a new video? Or is this the day where we're putting out like Michelle's opposite video of how she's like her character and how she's not? Or is this a day where we're spotlighting the perk that Heather's husband contributed and we're spotlighting his editing perk today? What is on our calendar? That's kind of what goes in the middle there. What new thing are we putting out there? And then we're going to end it. It's going to turn into a copy and paste. Once you get your flow as to how you end it, reiterating to people. Have you clicked like? Are you following us? Are you following us on Twitter and Facebook? And remember that we must hit this goal or we get nothing. It's all repetition. You'll find people that'll be like, "Oh, I didn't even realize you had a Twitter page." And you're like, "Well, we put the link at the bottom of every single update for the last 21 days. Like, what are you talking about?" So it's repetition. Yes. And then those updates, what's cool about Seed and Spark is that, you know how you're cracking up a little. What are you trying to say? Michelle's jumping in.
Just saying that you just have to deal with yourself inside the repetition.
Yes.
and get over like getting that for everybody else it's not.
Yeah. It's your whole life.
Really big.
Yes. Absolutely. And I think with Seed and Spark especially because they have the option to just be a follower rather than pledge. So when people follow on Seed and Spark, even though they haven't given any money yet, they are also getting your official updates that are going on every 3 to 4 days. And hopefully that's swaying them from becoming just a follower to also a pledger because they're keeping up on all the information that you're putting out there. And then I really want to cover the 5 tiers of gratitude, which we touched on a little bit. So, Heather and Michelle were saying, go ahead. Yeah.
Could you just, Tasha has asked a question twice, and I just wanted you to maybe peek at that really quickly before we move into the next thing.
A lot of people have that question, Tasha, like, okay, what if I set my bar low? Are people going to keep giving once I hit my goal? The answer is yes. I've had multiple campaigns double what their original goal was. And you do it the same way we're talking about all these other things. It's the excitement, it's the content that you've planned. You have these milestone videos. You continue to do the milestones for, let's say your goal was 20, but then you're going to make a milestone video for 25 and 30 and 35. You're also going to do this by the use of graphics. So some of your graphics are going to explain what your budget is, and that's just a pie chart, just percentages. It doesn't have to be dollars and cents, but the average person is like, well, you need $20,000 to make a short film for a web series or whatever it is, right? So you're going to split it up. Oh, well, 10% is going to cast and 11% is going to crew. And, you split it up so they can figure it out. But then, and this is from the get-go, this isn't something we're just going to spring on people. We have another graphic that lives lower down on the campaign that explains what our stretch goals are. Okay, yeah, we said we needed 20, but if we hit 25, now we can do this. And if we hit 30, now we can do this. So this information is publicly on the page from the beginning. And as you get closer to that first goal, and sometimes the reason that first goal is simply because it's in a range that you're going to be able to hit on the platform and not lose the money. So your goal would be to hit that goal within 2 to 3 weeks. So you have 1 to 2 weeks left to go even above and beyond that. And as you get closer to that goal, you can change your messaging to be like, wow, it looks like we're going to hit this goal and we're going to be able to go for those stretch goals. And then we're going to start changing our messaging and putting those things out and maybe adding some perks that we hadn't added, coming up with new ideas and continue to go. And a lot of times you'll find that there's a subset of people out there who don't pledge until you hit your goal, because now they're certain that this project is actually going to happen and that their $5, $10, $15 is going somewhere. Everybody's different with their money and like at what point they're going to actually jump in, but there will be that people. And I would say it's that last week and onward where you're going to see more strangers coming in because they don't really have anything invested in you as a person. But now that you're showing up on like campaign page that's hit their goal and still has time, now maybe they become interested, or possibly that's when you're attracting some investors and stuff. And that's something we really haven't touched on, but I've had multiple campaigns where one quick example, this was an Indiegogo and it was that experiential reward, $200 chat with the director. She didn't want to put this up there. She didn't feel comfortable and I forced her. I force people a lot to do things that they're uncomfortable with. So I forced her to put herself up there as a coffee chat. And she called me up one day and she's like, Leah, somebody bought that coffee chat and they're not a member of my family. I don't know who this is. Well, the person reached out to her and asked if he could have the coffee chat now, like while the campaign was still running. Turns out he was an investor in town from Egypt and ended up putting $15,000 into the campaign after her coffee chat with him. And these things happen based on how well your campaign is running, how smoothly it's running, how professional it's running. Now, we know all the things we just talked about behind the scenes that were going on and all the calendars and the content and the breakdowns, but the public can't know about all of that. To the public, it looks fun and spontaneous and effortless.
Exciting. And I think what Leah said earlier
Yes.
I think what Leah said, yeah, because this is the major revelation Michelle and I had is I think we get a little jaded and we've lost the romance in a lot of cases behind what we do as creatives, because we see so much of the struggle and we see so much of the financial struggle in particular, and the desperation to get noticed and get seen and get heard, that we forget that to everybody out there, anybody creating anything is unbelievable. Like the fact that anybody would try to make anything, a TV show, a movie, a play, to do a one-person show. I mean, I had people that showed up in New York just because they couldn't believe I was actually going to do that. Like I went to Arizona and reintroduced myself to my friends that hadn't seen me in a decade, and it blows their mind. Now I'm a little jaded because I know a lot of great people that do that. But yeah, you're really letting them peek into a world that, don't assume that your entire community really understands what this is, and they don't have the same relationship. To them, it's still a beautiful, exotic, magical land. Funny, huh?
Keep that opinion.
Yeah. Anyway.
And investors do come. And we had an investor show up on set one of our actors got excited and learned that we still needed some funds for posts and decided to, and then,
We can tell.
yeah,
We can tell who it is.
yeah, Tom Bergeron. He just fell in love with our project and us, and he's one of our actors, and just asked what he could do to help. So we let him know, and he did, and that was really, it was so exciting and so
We were
sweet.
shocked.
We were shocked. Yeah.
And
Anyway.
it happens. It happens. I could give you at least a dozen examples of teams that could not believe a producer came in the last minute, whether it was somebody they knew or someone they didn't know. A sponsorship happened and came through. But none of these things. And so I don't want it to be like, oh my God, magic happens. But it does. But it's the effort and the hard work and the planning and the strategy that allows that magic to happen. And I know we're running on time, but I really just want to roll through the 5 tiers of gratitude super quickly. So get ready to take some notes. This is my own little thing that I make my clients do. 5 tiers of gratitude. So when a backer comes in, no matter what platform you're using, except Indiegogo, which is one of the reasons about Indiegogo. But when a platform comes in, it allows you to send a direct message to the person that backed, just like you would on Facebook. So tier 1 gratitude is you send them a thank you note. Now, this is a copy paste note we've already created that lives wherever your team is working from. We use Basecamp. So there's a little copy paste note that literally, dear Tasha, thank you so much for your contribution. As you know, we need to hit 80% to hit our goal. Please share our link. You never know who might see it and be inspired. And by the way, do you have a Twitter handle? Can we have it? So we have this big Google Doc we work off of. And so now we know Tasha got this tier 1 thank you note. Now, step 2, and this is something that you guys are required to do. If I'm working with you, I'm handling the chart and the lists. But when you wake up, first thing I want you to do is check that chart. Did I add new names? Have new backers come in? You're going to take them, whether it's 5 names or 50 names, you're going to copy and paste them. Tier 2 is Facebook. You're now going to go over to Facebook and do a big thank you post. First thing you do when you wake up in the morning, thank you so much to our latest backers. You're going to list them all. You're going to tag them all. And you're always going to always end with the link, call to action, have you pledged yet, join the team. Now, what happens is, yes, I feel good because I just get tagged on Facebook. But if I also if we're all in the same class and it's me and Bill and Barbara, and Bill and Barbara haven't pledged yet, well, now they see that I've been tagged. They're like, oh man, Leah pledged, okay, and Mark pledged, gosh, I better pledge too. So it's also kind of, helps people feel accountable. But it also spreads the word, because then you're like, oh, wait, why did Leah just get tagged in this thank you post? What did she do, right? So that's tier 2 of this thank you post. Now, tier 3, if you have a production page, a movie page, a Facebook page, something like that, again, you're going to copy it over first thing in the morning, and again at last thing at night. You're going to check this chart again. So remember, we talked about 5 posts a day on Facebook. Well, your first post a day is going to start with gratitude, and your last post of the day is going to end with gratitude. So really, you only have to come up with 3 posts in the middle between your thank you posts, right? So that makes it seem a little bit better. Tier 4 is Twitter. We sent out these notes. Hey, do you have a Twitter handle? No, not everybody does, and not everybody's going to respond. And you don't have to do this one by one, but you look on your chart, and as a couple people respond, now you've got 3 or 4 Twitter handles. You go do a Twitter thank you. Thank you so much. You tag these people. If they weren't following you, they're going to follow you now. Chances are they are going to retweet you as well. And then their friends are going, hey, what did Sally just get thanked for? What's this down the middle series? Let me go follow it. And then the 5th tier, back to those official campaign updates that we're putting out every 3 to 4 days. You know how we said we sign off at the end? We're also going to go and thank you to our latest backers, and we're going to list everybody by name. Some people pledge and they want to be anonymous. If that's the case, you respect that and you just say, and we had some anonymous backers too. But so now if I pledge to your campaign, I got a thank you note, and as close to real time as possible. You try to get those thank you notes down as close to real time as possible. So I got a thank you note. I got a thank you on Heather's Facebook page. I got a thank you on Michelle's Facebook page. I got a thank you on the Down the Middle Facebook page. Did we have a Down the Middle Facebook page? We didn't. I don't think we did. Did we?
No, we didn't.
We didn't. Okay.
Twitter.
So if you have some sort of page, we got thank you over there. Then I got thanked on the Twitter page. I got a thank you on Michelle's Twitter page and Heather's Twitter page and the Down the Middle Twitter page. Then I got a thank you on the official Seed and Spark campaign page update. So I feel appreciated. I feel like I'm part of the team. I know that my pledge worked. I've never done a pledge on Seed and Spark before. Did it even work? And chances are I'm more likely to share because I feel like I'm a member of the team. And I'm probably more likely to chip in another 10 or 20 bucks at the end to help you get to the goal because I remember how well you made me feel when I gave my first pledge.
Right.
So that's
Especially when
just the
you guys
whole
are
picture.
within $100 of your goal, and all of a sudden I found $5 more I can give you.
Yep.
Teresa says she doesn't understand step 3.
Step 3, I mentioned if there is another Facebook page in play, I should probably change it to the 4 tiers of gratitude since I'm kind of getting rid of that extra Facebook page. But step 3, so step 1 is the thank you note. Step 2 is a thank you on your Facebook page. Step 3 would be a thank you if the movie or the show has its own Facebook page or you have a public Facebook page. Step 4 is a Twitter thank you. And step 5 is a thank you back on the official campaign page updates. Remember, we talked about every 3 to 4 days, you're going to say, hey, dear backers, this is what's going on, blah, 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 blah. You're then going to list those thank yous. So step 5 is actually on the chart. It'll fall behind the other thank yous because they're happening on a daily basis. And step 5 is happening every 3 or 4 days. So that'll be the one column that falls behind.
So I just want to check in on people's timing.
Yes, yes.
I know we've tried to fit a lot in 2 hours.
And we want to give you guys more. That's the sad thing is seriously, we could
But
go
here's
for...
the thing, we were answering questions throughout instead of saving it at the end. So I don't feel bad about that. But I know it's 5 after 4. We were supposed to end at 4. I know we just threw a whole heck of a lot at you. Trying to see other burning questions that we need to get to.
Why don't we have, do you want to have them physically raise their hands, Leah, if they have a burning question and unmute, or do you want to do it all in the chat?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if there's a burning question that we haven't gotten yet, that you can keep succinct and detailed, and you want to unmute yourself and ask it, how about we
raise your hand so she can call on you?
It's 4:05. How about we, I've got 10 minutes. Heather, Michelle, you got 10 minutes? Heather's face is 10 minutes. How about we take 10 minutes if anybody has any last burning questions? And of course, you can always email us and ask us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or did we cover all the questions for now and you need to ruminate and
Kevin's like,
figure out what the questions are?
Kevin has a question. Unmute yourself, Kevin.
Okay. Kind of hard to phrase a question, so I'll just kind of throw it out, and I think you'll understand what I'm asking. I'm doing something for theater, so it's obviously a lot less money. What's the difference there? Like, am I I only need like $2,000 maybe, right? Maybe a little bit more. What do I do?
Okay, well, so first you have to figure out your budget, right? Is it $2,000? Is it $2,500? Is it $3,000? So make a list, write out your budget. And I'm not a line producer, but from what I know, line producers usually do 3 budgets. They write, okay, what's the bare minimum I can do this for? What's a good amount I can do this for? And what would be really golden to have? And so get those 3 numbers clear in your head and what they cover. And then remember what we talked about in the beginning. So let's say it's $3,000 that you're looking for. Okay, so for $3,000, you're gonna need, let's say, 50 backers. Does 50 backers feel like a comfortable amount to you? If so, proceed. And then you put your page together. Now, if you're only looking to raise $3,000, obviously you're not looking to spend $3,000 building a team. So you've got to put those pieces together yourself. The most important thing for you to do is going to be not just getting your great pitch video together and getting your perks list and putting your page together. And by the way, you guys, I suggest everybody sign up for your campaign page today. You can build it slowly. It's not going to be public. It'll be private, and you can start putting in pieces so that you can visualize it. So I would kind of start there, Kevin, and figure out, okay, what's my pitch video going to be? What kind of message? What's my who, what, when, where, why, and how? And start making that email list of people who you're going to send out to get this money rolling. And I think you're going to find that for something around the $2,000-$3,000 level, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised when you dig into your community and see who's out there and what they're willing to do. I think you're going to be able to hit that.
I'm going to cry. So
You're so cute. You got this, man. And just keep working through that checklist. One
And remember
step
what
at a
we
time.
talked about: excite, inspire, and pull at the heartstrings. And from what I know about your project, you can easily hit all three of those. Be vulnerable. Here's a quick example. One of my clients was going through a brain operation that was going to possibly prevent him. He was losing his hand motion. He might possibly be preventing him from playing guitar. And I'd known him for a long time. I went over to his house, and as he told me, oh no, did I get lost? Where am I? There I am. As he told me his story, his eyes welled up with tears. He was shaking. He told me his story. Then we turned on the camera to film his pitch video, and all of a sudden he turned into a spokesman. And I was like, wait, where'd that vulnerability go? Where'd the tears go? Where'd the shaky voice go? People want to connect with you. We must have reshot that video 6 times before he finally centered and got his vulnerability back. So lean into your vulnerability with that story as a strength. Okay. Tasha, I saw you were raising hand.
Yeah, so regarding a film project, with everything going on with coronavirus and protocols and everything, should we wait to pull the trigger on funding closer to a date that we can foresee actually shooting?
Well,
Can I
yeah, go ahead.
weigh in on that?
Yeah, go for it.
I promise you, when you'll shoot, let me put it this way: you can't build your crowdfunding campaign around when you intend to shoot, because there are a lot of things that have to happen with the money that gets paid out, with how that might affect your budget. Like, you might be surprised what the gap is between the time your crowdfunding is complete and when you're actually shooting. So I think, especially Tasha, depending on how much pre-production you've already done, if you look at what she's talking about, if you're going to take at least 90 days for that, and then however long the campaign is you choose to run, I mean, you could be looking at 6 months before you even have the money from the campaign. And that's if you started prepping it today. So I don't know that I would let yourself get preoccupied. And here's the other thing: the ongoing updates we send to our community, all of our followers via State and Spark, because we try to regularly, like once a month, to let everybody know what's happening. There's so much to talk about. You know, as you add people that are on the cast, as you add a cameraman, as you add a venue or a location, even if you're not shooting yet, there's stuff to share. And if there's wave number 3 and everything shuts down, then you send words of encouragement to everybody and say, hey, listen, we're never giving up. This is going to come, and we're going to keep in touch. So if it's the same kind of authenticity that Leah was talking about. As long as you're authentic about where you're at in your process and what you're committed to, people get moved by that.
Yeah.
And they love those updates. I mean, it's amazing the responses we get back.
And you don't know, I mean, there are projects that are shooting right now. You might include something in your budget for protocol for COVID. You just might need to add that to your budget. You know, a nurse temperatures, like look up what it is, how are sets working and shooting right now, and decide if you want to incorporate that into this.
I mean, there's so many unknowns. It's you know, it's kind of hard to even answer, but I will tell you, I had a client hit their goal. They raised $35,000 about 2.5 weeks before the shutdown. We had just finished a Kickstarter, and they were going to shoot in New Mexico like the last week of March. And I mean, they've got some name talent on board. They had everything set to go, and they've been putting on updates. They put on a Kickstarter update about a month ago that said, okay, as things are opening up, it looks like, you know, we've pushed the date. This is our new start date. And just this week, I saw somebody leave a comment on the Kickstarter page going, hey, so is that still happening this week? What's the update? And the director said, well, we've had to push back a little bit further. We're just waiting on the green light. We're following protocols, but you know, we've got the budget. Everybody's ready to go. So it's such an unknown time we're living in that it's hard to answer that. But I think now, just because the majority of us have way more free time than we've ever had in these go hustle lifestyles we live, that now is a great time to get your contact list in order, to get your budget locked down, to get your graphics designed, to get your pitch video done. I think it might have been you, Kevin, earlier that said something about, well, how do we do this in this time? You know what, maybe it's a lot of Zoom. Maybe, I mean, they're even shooting national commercials via, you know, Zoom. You know, maybe the pitch video maybe you address the elephant in the room in your pitch video and in your campaign, that we know this is this really crazy coronavirus time. Maybe you address that in all that you do.
Well, and for you, Kevin, it's like, yeah, I know this is a crazy time and I don't know how I'm going to pull this off, but I know that my story is so relevant for so many people right now that it's got to happen. And so I am going to power ahead. I'm going to figure this out, you know, and people really get, you know, everybody wants to be that brave. And when you take the lead, it gives them an opportunity to support you.
Anybody else? Sarah, any questions?
Okay.
Therese,
That's
Gina, Emma,
Yes.
everybody good?
All right, you guys can unmute if you want. Well, I'll say goodbye.
I get it. This is overwhelming. When you look over your notes, I don't know about Heather and Michelle, but when you look over your notes, if you want to fire me off an email, like, I wrote this down, what the heck does it mean?
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, I am totally open to that, because I get it. It's a lot of information. And then if anybody wants to reach out, if you do want to schedule a one-on-one session with me, they're normally $200, but I'm doing a coronavirus special where they are only $75. And that's
75?
$75. I haven't had $75 prices since like 2012.
Oh, girl.
But
You're gonna get an email from me.
That's a freaking steal. Let me tell you, that is a freaking
changed
steal.
the game. I was like, I'm not doing this table until she says she's going to be our king.
we didn't even get to tell you guys that we fought over the goal too, man. I had to fight tooth and nail for them to lower the goal. I actually got to the point where I said I was going to walk away. If you didn't lower it to this much or lower, I'm out. I'm not going to.
And she was right.
I won't blow smoke, you guys. I'm not going to take on a campaign that I don't feel that together we can do. You know, I don't just want your money. That doesn't help my track record. That doesn't help my reputation.
Leah, do you want emails to go to your live?
Yeah, you know what? Actually, if you guys want to email me directly, I'll put my actual email, because that PR email I just kind of use for special PR stuff and whatnot. So I just put my Gmail in the chat box. It's just my name.
And I want to ask you, Leah, for people who had to leave, could you post that information? Those of you who attended, I'm offering this in the event, because I know Alyssa really would love to talk to you.
Absolutely. I'll post the link in the event page so that you can get that special pricing, because I don't have it listed like up on my website and stuff, but I do have like a special link that'll take you to the Corona pricing. Because I think,
that's awesome.
We all
God,
need
you're so generous.
Well, we all need a little bit of a creative outlet right now, you know, and we all seem to have extra time right now, hopefully.
Great time for pre-production.
Yeah. All right. We should let people go. I don't know about you guys, but my butt has fallen asleep.
Can somebody take a picture? I know there's only like 9 of us left. How do you take a picture, like a screenshot? I can never figure that out.
You do
you want a
screenshot
Mac?
just like on a computer.
No, I'm on a PC.
I'll get it for you.
Yeah, are you on a Mac?